Hello, student body, parents, and teachers. Today's finally here, the day we've all been waiting for. As parents, the day you've been waiting to stand loving and proud of your children's accomplishments. A day where they graduate from the nest, armed with your advice from at least a decade and a half, spread their new wings, and learn to fly on their own. A stepping stone, a day to say goodbye. As teachers, a day you've been slaving for and preparing the students for with almost literal blood, sweat, and tears for the last 4 years. A day of relief, and maybe a little sadness. I'm going to miss you all too. And as us, graduates, a day of excitement and dread. A new leaf, a new adventure, the beginning of new freedoms, more responsibilities, and decisions, as well as the end to an epic but chaotic 4 years of hormonal madness and intense procrastination. 4 years of fun and of learning what not to do. Honestly, sometimes 4 years can seem like a lifetime. Other times, like now, we look back and wonder how time flew so fast. It's been a really intense 4 years for me. I started out my freshman year homeschooling in Laos, a little communist country sandwiched between Thailand and China. I moved to the U.S. halfway through my freshman year and attended a small conference school north of Seattle until last summer when, due to some crazy circumstances and divine providence, I ended up canvassing in Michigan. I was very ready to leave Adventism or anything to do with religion right before the summer had started. Basically, I decided that this was God's last chance to prove his existence, so I would give him 10 weeks in canvas. If I didn't see any hardcore evidence of him, that was it. I was done. So I went canvassing, did a complete 180, and decided to go to a more mission-focused institution. So voila, here I am. Being here, I have definitely grown quite a bit spiritually. My faith has been tested and stretched. At times, it's been a challenge, but I wouldn't trade this experience for the world. I've learned a lot these last 4 years. A lot from Heritage, my old school, and from canvassing. A lot of it accidentally, and some of it intentionally. I'm going to try to summarize what I've learned. Okay, here goes. One of the most important things I've learned is perspective. I've learned that we see things not as they are, but as we are. Our perspectives dictate our actions or reactions, and our perspective is based on our experiences, habits, and the perspectives of the people that matter the most to us. I've learned that reputation is simply an opinion usually formed on word of mouth. People will believe what they want to believe. As someone once said, it is easier to believe a lie when it's heard 1,000 times than to believe a fact when it's never heard before. Instead of looking for evidence that disproves their perspective, most look for evidence that supports their idea and ignores anything else. This is a mentality I intentionally am trying to avoid. I've learned that silence is most likely the best response for something, especially if you don't know how to respond or are not sure where you stand. But conversely, when everyone else is silent, it's good to be a voice for justice. I'm learning that there is a balance between speaking up and remaining silent, and that they are both the right responses, but in different situations. I've learned that being a missionary doesn't depend on the location or the circumstances. You can be a missionary just as well in Florida, in Nepal, or even in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, at a little academy called Heritage. Being a missionary is more a mentality. It means being willing and ready at any moment to serve and to sacrifice for other people, however or wherever needed. And when we do serve, when we work hard, what we get out of it is so much more than pay or a reward. The experience of learning, growing, and becoming people of integrity and character lasts so much longer than a few bucks or a pat on the back. As John Ruskin once said, the highest reward for a person's toil is not what they get out of it, but what they become by it. And now we face the future with excitement, anticipation, nervousness, and maybe even dread. Some of us may think we know exactly who we're going to be or where we're going to go, while others have yet to understand their life's direction. Know that there are countless, innumerable good things we could do, good causes, worthy fights. We could sacrifice our lives and move in with a remote tribe recently brought out of cannibalism in Papua New Guinea and share with them the existence of a merciful, all-powerful, and providing Savior. We could become a film producer, creating vivid stories that educate on the living conditions and need for aid in third world countries with extreme poverty or political unrest. We could learn to fly a plane and transport equipment to doctors serving in highly inaccessible areas. Or we could become that medical missionary. So you see, I could go on and on. There are so many ways that we could help or influence the world for good. But good isn't best, and the best thing we could possibly be doing is God's will. His plan for our lives is perfect, but his ability to use us and accomplish his plan is dependent on our availability, our willingness to be used by him. The only way to really live is to fully die. In other words, he's asking for us to surrender to him. Complete surrender. He's not asking for 67.5% of our hearts or 82% of our lives. There are no lines we draw in the sand. He's asking for everything. Our time, our resources, our passions, our person, our hearts and lives. Complete willingness. Complete realization that in our weakness, we are strong. When we have surrendered to God, we have unlimited possibilities and resources. Absolutely anything is able to happen in our lives and through us by complete faith and surrender to God. And no matter what we do or where we go from here, whether it be to celebrate with a meal at Red Robin's or a day at Six Flags, or a straight flight or drive to summer jobs or homes, whether it be majoring in biology at Southern or spending the next 2 years teaching English in the Philippines, or even joining the Air Force, remember to trust in God. That's literally the best safety net, plan A, or backup plan. He's never in the dark, no matter how much you are. So I will trust him. Psalms 37:5 says, "Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass." And once we have committed to him, we can rest in the knowledge that all things will work together for the good of them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose.